Hi, second graders. We have been learning so much about European explorers, and we're going to continue this work today thinking about an explorer named Henry Hudson. In 1609, an explorer named Henry Hudson, as you can see here, and a crew of other European men sailed their ship called the Half Moon to the Americas. Like Verrazano, Henry Hudson was looking for a shorter way to get to China and India. He had been hired by the Dutch East India Company from Holland. In July of 1609, Hudson landed in Penobscot Bay in what we now call Maine. There, he and his crew met some of the Algonquin people who lived in the area. One of Hudson's men, Robert Jewett, was very afraid of these native people, and he said the crew could not trust them. Jewett led a group of 12 European men armed with muskets and artillery and attacked the local Algonquin village, driving the savages from their houses. They also stole whatever they could find in the indigenous homes, like tobacco, beads, and pottery. He said, "They would have done of us if we did not do this first." What are you thinking? What are you wondering? Teachers, you can pause the video here for kids to turn and talk, or talk in a breakout room. A few months later, on September 3rd, 1609, Hudson sailed his ship into what we now call New York Bay. He anchored his ship near what is now Coney Island, Brooklyn. The Lenape people, who had lived in this area for thousands of years, saw Hudson's ship. Some of the Lenape were out fishing in canoes, and they wondered, was this a huge animal, a house? They quickly went back to shore and gathered the chiefs of the Lenape and a neighboring tribe called the Mohican. They decided that the huge ship might be Manito, the supreme being or God moving toward them, and they prepared meat to give him. Finally, a small canoe with some Europeans on it rowed ashore. The Lenape formed a circle on the beach to welcome the visitors. They spoke in the Lenape, and the visitors spoke in another language which they did not understand. They were very confused about why the visitors had white skin, because this is not what they thought Manito, or God, would look like. Hudson went back to his ship, and he brought the Lenape glass beads, axes, stockings, hoes, and other tools. And he invited the Lenape aboard his ship, where the Lenape brought the Europeans tobacco, knives, and beads. Even though it might seem silly to us that the Lenape thought these men were gods, we know the Lenape were deeply religious. They saw themselves as part of a natural world that was filled with spirits, and they believed that animals, trees, plants, clouds, insects, and stones all had a spirit. They also believed that trading with another group would keep the spiritual world in balance, and if any other tribe gave them a gift, they always gave a gift back. Take a minute to think. How did the Lenape religion affect their interactions with the Europeans? How did their beliefs change how they treated the Europeans? Teachers, you can pause the video to give kids a chance to talk. On September 6th, Hudson sent a small crew of men further down the river, led by a man named John Coleman. Well, remember in July where there was the attack on the Algonquins? Coleman and his men were set upon by two canoes. One of the canoes had 12 indigenous people in it, and the other had 14. Historians aren't sure, but they believe the native people had told each other about the summer attack, and the Algonquins shot John Coleman in the throat with an arrow, and they wounded two others. The European guns wouldn't work because it was raining and they couldn't light their ammunition. Hudson's men escaped, but they lost their way back to the Half Moon, and they couldn't return until the following day. When they got back, Hudson and his crew would no longer let the Lenape onto their boat. They retaliated by kidnapping 3 Lenape men who had come to trade with them. And then Hudson and his crew continued sailing west down the Hudson River for 150 miles. They traded with different indigenous groups along the way, collecting beaver furs, which were very valuable in Europe. When they finally left the Americas and went back to Europe, they had not found a route to Asia, but Hudson had found a place with rich wildlife and expensive furs. And so other Europeans would soon follow, and more violent interactions would occur between the indigenous people and the Europeans. What are you thinking? What are you wondering? What are your new ideas about Henry Hudson and his crew and their interactions with the Lenape and other indigenous tribes? I can't wait to hear. See you soon.